Okay, we're trying a new thing this year. Instead of having a genius panel where somebody sits up here and tells you everything they know how to do, we're going to have more of an open discussion thing. So I planted a couple people in here who I know we can start this discussion. This is Matt Fox, and this is Jose.
Did you read that?
You're just Jose. They're writers, so they can get you started on their best practices and finer points and any questions. And it's more of an open discussion thing, so feel free to just jump in. And I don't know Wes, but Wes says he's here to do that too. So have fun.
Yeah, we have Wes Novak and we have Karen and we have Evo.
Yeah, Evo's a writer and. Right. It's just how you do things. This is how you can share ideas and just how you do things differently and stuff like that. It's just an open discussion time. So have fun.
Thanks, Debbie. Thanks. It's awesome though. It's for the video streaming folks. They see absolutely nothing.
You see the back of his head. Now there's. Welcome to the live stream.
So we can do a radio play.
There you go.
Jeez.
There we go.
So glad you know this technology stuff works.
Moving things. Can I get out?
No.
And settle.
Now we're just showing a big picture.
So, how about this seed things? Who's a writer in this room?
Why don't we just go around and introduce everybody and tell us what you do? So I'm Wes Novak. I am a very active blogger. I used to manage a large tech website as the editor. So I had writers working under me that I, edited their posts and signed writing projects or blog topics and whatnot. That site had about 1 million visitors a month, so it was fairly high traffic-wise. Now I just kind of blog for myself occasionally on a couple of blogs that I own, whatsthetech.com and westnovak.com for personal stuff. And that's about it.
Matt Fox. My background is quite a little bit different from writing. Most people like copywriting. I've been direct marketing for almost 20 years. There's a lot of sales letter that everybody hates. I write at persuasiontheory.com is my site. I have a self-published book out, Friction, Pre-Sales, and Marketing. My name's Jose. I write all sorts of stuff, but I also freelance. I write, but then I freelance specifically for things and I create text. I write for the music section as well. One thing I'd be interested to talk about is like people's processes, how you do the work that you do, what is helpful for just getting started. Like Karen's written a book. We have a few books. What the kinds of things that you did to get through that whole process. That's kind of neat. Also, a quick reminder before we get too far: folks are free to come and go as they please. So that's cool. But yeah.
I'm Sam. I don't blog. I'm absolutely terrible at blogging. I'm an internet marketer by day, so I do SEO, organic optimization, social media, that stuff. And then I'm currently working on a novel, so creative, young adult fiction, nonfiction, fiction. So.
I'm Dan Schredt. I'm a self-published author, podcaster. I have a podcast called How the Comics It's about vampires. My novel is Lilith's Love. It's about vampires. You're going to see a pattern with me on that. I blog for a website called Horror Addicts, where I talk about vampires.
Do you want to be in there?
No.
Are you going to Twilight this week?
Yes, because I'm taking my daughters to go
Oh,
see
okay.
Twilight.
Those are
Because those are vampires.
No, they're not. They're blizzard favorites. They're not.
But my experience is I wrote my novel 15, almost 20 years ago, self-published it. Once that finally hit around 2000, discovered podcasting, produced a audiobook of my novel, so we're on audiobooks.com. But then I just sort of grown into taken over the social media. So if you want to find out more about my work, you can go to danscharette.com, but you click on the spell, look for Dan S42, just about anywhere.
My name is Ivo Terra. From the writing aspect, yes, I'm a writer. I've written 3 books for Dummy series that have my name on the spine, so that's pretty nice. Beyond that, lots of copywriting for work, various things. In fact, I have a whole team of people underneath me whose job it is to write, so I train them on how they write on a much more succinct and active basis. Beyond me as a writer, I'm kind of an enabler of writers. I started a website called audiobooks.com back in 2005, where we encourage authors and assist them with getting their own books made into self-produced audiobooks. We released those. We have over 600 titles that you can listen for free. I also run a service, or run a new company we just started last year called ePublish Unum that specializes in teaching authors how to survive and thrive in a digital world. So not necessarily teaching you how to write, but how to do all the other things people think beyond just writing. Editing yourself, or better yet, editing professional covers and promotion, engagement, all those things that come along with that. And don't forget to write that.
I'm Karen Bainey. I have 6 Christian romance novels out, so that's just being 13, not I'm self-published. I actually started writing in March of 2010, so I've been a writing crazy person in the last 2 years. And I've sold almost 28,000 copies of good books.
Oh, good job. Congratulations.
Sounds like a writer's anonymous session.
We're all doing this?
Yeah, why not?
My name is Brandon. I write news reviews for the nerdoftheday.net, and along with these other 4 yahoos and one of the other guys that's missing, we do a weekly podcast. And myself and Jason, we do another weekly podcast called Stupid News Show, where we go over weekly news articles we found over the week that are just ridiculously dumb or about people who are ridiculous.
So you're really busy.
Yeah.
It's
sometimes going out, okay, we found 100 articles, let's go down to the dozen we want to focus on, and so on. So.
My name is William. I also do anotherday.net blogging on there. I do a lot of interviews with people, trying to give back kind of to the nerd community, people that have done stuff, made an impact in the world, but really aren't popular or recognized. So I do interviews, get people around the web, get their take on for them. So I set that up and we do the weekly podcasts.
I'm Jason. I'm a fairly new team member to Nerd of the Day. I just started podcasting, like Brandon said, with them. But I like to get into writing for the website as well and blogging on it. So I'd like to learn more about how it works.
I'm Chris. I'm also with Nerd of the Day. I just do. I know we got a whole mob here today. I do the Nerd of the Day show with fellow members here, as well as Cone's Gaming show reviews. I don't do so much actual blogging, working on video blogging and those kind of setups, but
we brought him along to teach him how to write. We can't read his
Yes,
text
but he
messages.
looks like Noah Wiley, so he's got a lot going on.
Nice.
which one was that?
Noah Wiley?
Oh, okay.
It's usually better than
like
Justin
here.
Timberlake.
I got too many of them.
That's what we usually get. He gets followed in the mall with little girls. That's really weird.
I have one of those little clickers. I keep count.
Well, I guess when people start staring at you, it's your turn. So, my name is Kyla McConnell Federowitz. I don't have to have the hyphen on my tag, but I am the owner of Hype Mobile Solutions, where I create mobile marketing campaigns for companies like through QR codes or NFC technology, things of that sort. And I really want to learn how to write better, write better bios and just provide better content, for my blogs and all kinds of stuff. And I want to stop paying people to write stuff for me. I'd rather write it for myself. So save a little dough. So that's my goal, and just to get information from you guys and help share knowledge and all that good stuff. So.
Okay, so I'm Izzy, and I'm not really a writer, but I do a lot of writing for the stuff that I do, and I want to be better at it. My biggest question is that I'm hoping that we can bring up today. My biggest struggle is elaborating. So I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm a male or whatever, but I tend to keep everything really short.
Have a little more about that? Sorry, easy go.
So, yeah.
Hard stuff, go to Jose.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm really curious to see how you guys take things and expound and make bigger and that kind of thing. I've noticed, Tebow, you're really good at that. So
It's called legal bullshit.
so I'm curious to get some ideas on that.
Hi, I'm Eric. I run a web development and hosting company. I do blogging for a few content delivery network websites and do a few things for them too. That's the stuff I up to, and I blog. So.
I'm Blake. I'm in high school right now, so I don't really have time to write anything, but I
Without a grade attached.
I enjoy writing though when I do have time. It's awesome.
I'm Daniel, and I also really like writing, and it's always been something I love doing. And I've written a lot of things, not like full stories or anything, but I've started so many things. I just never get to finish anything. So it's pretty depressing.
We've all been there. And some of us still are.
I'm Mason. Basically what Danny said.
Okay. Oh, and no.
I am not, and guess I'm a developer by primary job, but I blog and have a Tumblr that has like 3,000 followers. That's massive stuff, but occasionally, once a week I fire out.
So do we have questions, or should we jump right into Izzy's questions?
Yeah, let's start. Yeah. Okay, early. Just kidding.
Two to be. There's no such so we can all do it.
So what type of stuff do you write?
Well, it's, nonfiction stuff, so it's like, information, and I have to write emails to my audience, and I have to write blog posts to accompany videos, and I have to write scripts for videos I'm making, and that kind of stuff. So my big challenge is, and my wife is like really good at this, where she'll take something really small and just go on and explore from all these different angles and stuff, and I don't think that way, and it's a challenge. So how do you elaborate?
Well, first, there's no problem with being distinct and concise.
Right. What's the pro?
Right, but if you're like trying to market something, obviously you want to talk all about the benefits of something. But I mean, if it's a novel, you can write short fiction, you can write long fiction, you can do flowery prose, or it's better for flowery. That doesn't mean it's better. In fact, true story, I wrote my novel because I got tired of the fact that I loved Anne Rice novels, but I just could not choose them. They were just so thick and huge and gothic. I was a really tiny vampire novel. I think I did.
About vampires.
But why do you feel like you need to elaborate? I guess is the question. Is there, for a script, I could see that. But if it's marketing materials in your blog.
So I was gonna say, kind of going off on that is like, what's your process? Are you just sitting down and trying to hammer something out? Or what's your planning going into it? Because that's huge for me to find out.
Right.
So how do you storyboard? We always, this was Jose and I were just talking about before, and I can't remember where I read it this week, but like everybody sees the finished product, they see the movie or they see the book, and it's like, oh shit, I can do this. I'll just sit down and start writing and get 100 words into it. You go, crap, what you're doing. Or it starts going off at different tangents. And for me, it's always plan out, here's the 50 things I want to cover, ideas that I have, or narrow it down to 2 or 3 and expand on those 2 or 3 and go from there.
Right, so do you use an outline, or do you just have a set of bullets that you want to cover in what you're writing, or what's your process right now? Do you just try to just start writing and go for it?
Usually I'll open up Evernote and write down a few bullet points and try to brainstorm brainstorm for a bit. I feel like we should answer somebody else's question now.
Yeah, so, I mean, you called me out and said I'm pretty good at doing that stuff,
Yeah.
right? And I gladly said I'm a bullshitter, but my process is, I write a lot and then I cut a lot.
Yeah, because your Google Plus posts are
Sure.
very, very good.
Right, thank you.
But they're brief. But it feels like it feels very thorough, even though they're brief.
They have probably been rewritten a couple of times when I do those. So, and let's talk about that specifically. So, what I'll do is, what he's talking about is I'll share, typically it's a shared link that I'm going to write something about, right? But rather than just simply saying, here's the link, I go through and I try and summarize it. But I don't really try and summarize it as much as I try and list out the main point and then list out what's kind of important to me, why I think that's the point.
You're paraphrasing.
Yeah, well, paraphrasing to a certain extent, but I want to give them, my
You
have a lot of original thought you insert.
I try to do that because the other way they're just simply sharing links, and I can care less about that. When I'm writing in a more structured form, so I'm a huge outliner. I think outlining is the greatest thing known to man. But the other side of the equation is there are people who are more mind mappers and that style, and that works too. But that is not me. I'm very much an outliner, and so I'll build my entire my presentation, my document, my train of thought by covering. I've got to start here, then I've got to start here, then I've got to start here. The reason an outlining program is, I think, better than Evernote, although I'm a huge Evernote fan, is I can rearrange my thoughts very easily as opposed to copy and paste.
And what program is
So,
that?
the new process, and there's a free program called WorkFlowy, spelled exactly as you might think it is, WorkFlowy, FLOY.com.net, I think it's .com. Free program, and it's really kick-ass. I'm probably going to wind up buying the pro version because it's wonderful. So I'll start there, and then the process is fleshing everything out. It goes from there into a text document, and then each one of those bullets gets blown out. And I may write 200 words in each one of those, and then I'm running into something that is completely unwieldy. And then it's a matter of going back and being very mercenary. That stuff. I'll write the same sentence 3 different times, in 3 different ways, write the same thing over and over again, find the one that actually works, and pare it down. So that's how I would do it.
You actually write in workflow though, right? I mean, you're not just using it as an outlining tool.
No, I use an outliner and then I drop it over into something in text. Yeah, I typically, I could.
Do you keep your outline visible somewhere? I mean, how do you refer back to it?
I just bring it back. Once I'm happy with the outline, I'm done on the outline, and it goes into some sort of like Evernote with my copy and paste.
Then expand on each
Not
time.
writing in the outliner. I could, but I don't.
The same thing as mind mapping. It's just a
Right.
linear. It's just a linear version of mind mapping.
Maybe that's where I'm a little different. I will use a mind mapping tool, which really is outlining, but it's visual.
Yeah.
So as opposed to seeing, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, but once you go there, mind mapping is you start with an idea and you start thinking about all the things you want to branch off of that. But what I'll do is, and I use MindMeister website. I will actually write what I want to talk about with those notes. So I'll attach it with the idea. Then I can export that whole thing, get a document that I can clean up. But that way I'm seeing things visually, I'm editing, coming up with new ideas as I'm writing other things. Go, oh, I want to talk about this. Just throw it right off to the side. I'm visual that way, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that's the way I write sometimes. I'll outline. I'm new to outlining. I used to just sit down and type. Now I like to think about what I want to talk about because stuff just keeps popping off tangents like I'm doing right now. That's how I do it.
Well, I say the common theme. You have a process of outlining everything. Really, I always joke when people say copywriter. Well, actually, it's copy editing.
Right.
I mean, once you get done, when I do a post or whatever, it's rough. Run it out, get it done, let it sit for a day or two, come back and re-edit it. All of a sudden, you have all these different thoughts that you didn't think about as you were writing it, and either things come in or you want to remove stuff. It's adding and deleting the process. It's copyright finished product is over a long time now. I don't know how I felt.
Walking away is a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
Always walk away.
When I do sales letters, when I do anything long, I'll let it sit for a day, then come back and edit it, let it sit for another couple of days, come back and edit it, let it sit for a week, and then come back and edit it. It's like, oh my God, it's a completely different thing once you've been there after a week of changes. Completely different
See, and I do that with my novels, but I don't do that with my blogging. Because usually with my blogs, I come in, I know exactly what I want to talk about, I write it.
Yeah, I don't spend that
edit
much
it,
time on a blog post.
You know, but definitely with the whole novel writing process, I mean, there's a lot of iterations. I read my book until I'm completely sick of it. You know?
Well, you have to edit for plot, you have to edit for character, you have to edit for different things.
Exactly.
Somebody else.
Several times, yes.
I think it's also important to remember where your information is being viewed from, because as we're moving to a more mobilized, society where people are viewing, you want to make sure that the words you use are impactful and you're not, putting too much out there. Because I know I don't like to scroll and look at, an entire novel. So you want to remember where the people are viewing your content. If they're viewing it on a mobile device, it's better to use graphics and words that are more expressive so that you don't have to use as many. Whereas when you do have the freedom of a PC and people have a bit more time, you can expand a bit more and go a bit more in depth. So I think that's something important to kind of keep in mind as well.
Was that helpful to you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good stuff, guys.
Way to dominate the conversation, man.
This is right in the middle. That's nice.
Didn't somebody else say earlier?
It's been interesting to hear all about like how everybody has a different process about going about it. Actually, kind of tying that into like ultimately completing work. I'd love to hear about like, so Daniel, you've written stuff, and I think we've all been in that boat of like having started something and not getting it completed. What do people do? Like, what does everybody else do with those things that have been like you started and like wherever you keep your writing, you go back and you're like, oh, I never finished that. It's like, oh, that's such a good idea. How do you move beyond that point to get it actually completed?
For me, and it might be different because I'm writing like a novel, not blog posts and stuff, I'll skip ahead. So like if I'm really feeling that there's something else that I want to write, fortunately I know where my story goes from start to finish. I'll start writing in another area and I'll work my way backward, or I'll just write that one scene and then I'll go back to the main part that I left off at. And currently I had actually taken almost a year off of writing. Like I left my novel just done and I didn't know where to go. So I just picked it up and I started to force myself to write because I knew I wanted to finish it. So it's been moving. It's just sometimes you have to suck it up and finish it anyways if you want to get it out.
The hardest part sometimes is just starting. I mean, it's good that you've got a lot of different ideas, you've written them down, you started writing them. It's okay if you swap between different ideas, different stories. In fact, that can be very helpful because as long as the juices are flowing for the imagination to write something down, that's always good. Which is one of the reasons why I started blogging, because I got tired of writing short stories and fiction. I wanted to write something else so I can take my focus away from what I do very much the same thing as Sam is I'll outline a story, I know where everything is going, but sometimes it's not that I'm stuck in an area, but it's like I want to stop with that section and go focus on something else because it may impact that, it may not, but you can't always write linearly. You can't write from the start and just expect a story to appear. Sometimes you need to jump ahead.
And sometimes you need a break.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a big break. I mean, right now I have a novel that's half done and it's driving me insane because I don't have time to get back to it. But sometimes when I have those periods of time, I find that it's actually been very beneficial because I'll go back and read the first half that I've already written, and now I have different ideas than what I had before, and so the story is going to take a little bit different shape. And I think the biggest thing is, because I hear this from a ton of writers that I'm involved in a bunch of groups online and stuff, and everyone faces this. So don't feel like you're the only one that can't finish something, or you have 80 things that are started and you just want one done. Everybody goes through these times. It's very normal. It's part of the writing process, and allow yourself that freedom to just be with it how you are.
I think some people are also afraid to publish, to click the button and actually put it out there, because I mean, it's a harsh world out there. People, hide behind their computers and they say any and everything, so sometimes it can be scary to actually put your story out there or, your blog post because you're nervous about what other people are going to think about that. That's not, that's something that all humans consider. So you kind of just, like you said, have to suck it up, sometimes because you'll live another day to post another blog. And that's the good thing is that you always have another day to improve your skills, your writing, and all of that. So, sometimes suck it up, just put it out there because there's someone out there interested in everything that you have to say,
You gotta remember you can always edit it after it's published.
Exactly. But you gotta get it out there eventually. You can't blog for yourself.
Unless it's a novel.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's a novel. Yeah, unless it's a novel.
Really?
It's easy to do.
Really?
Yeah. It's so easy now. Okay.
Well, especially with
you self-publish.
Well, I know, but even with ebooks, I get emails for books I bought from Amazon Kindle. They said we just released a new version.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
It's easier with ebooks, but I've also produced like 4 different versions of my book.
To get the special editions.
Right.
With extra songs added on it.
Deluxe edition with 2 extra chapters.
Yeah, I was. So I do blogging for a few companies out there. One of the things I find really helpful for me, and this is just for blog posts. I don't do this with emails. Wish I could though. But Amazon has this like service where you can post like I really do forget what it's called every time. But you can pay somebody like $10 to like $2. You can really what?
Mechanical Turk?
Yeah, that. So you can post in the store or the marketplace, and I post a lot of my stuff on there and just get people's reviews and feedback. It really does help me. It doesn't cost me anything, really, in my view.
What is that?
Mechanical Turk?
What does it do?
So you're able to
You
post
can
stuff
have
on
people
there.
do almost anything. I mean, that's great.
So like, for me, like I just post a job out there, like tell people you'll get like this, but you'll get like it's usually like $100. Just review it, and I have multiple people coming into there, and I can accept or deny a lot of stuff. That really does help me out. I do that for a lot of my copy too. With my company, it's just it really does help. It gets me. I've got a lot of other viewpoints out of there. And it really does. It's really cheap, really affordable too. So.
Yeah, one of the things that I was going to ask, like, do people who are writing currently use do you have a regular person that you go to bounce ideas off of, or even having writing partners, writing circles, art meetings, all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm involved in a writers meeting. We send our work out, they critique it.
Okay.
I have a couple of other people that aren't part of the group that will read it, but monthly we have a writers meeting that we just all sit down and either dump ideas with, or we critique, or we do writing practices.
See, and I don't do that, but part of that is because I have a full-time job and I do this full-time weekend, so.
That's what Facebook is.
And that's where I go. I'm involved in like 3 or 4 different writers groups online. And then what's ironic is I've met people through Twitter that live like 3 blocks from me that are also writers, so we get together once a month. But we talk more about marketing and self-publishing, and not as much about the craft of writing. For me, I prefer reading books about the craft of writing and then practicing things on my own to hone it that way. But I still have I have 2 or 3 editors that they provide feedback and critique as well.
Casey, I just wanted to mention one more thing on your question. Have you thought about using templates for like the specific types of writing that you're using, just so that you have all these sections that you know you're going to touch on, and then you can try to expand your at least have something in each of those sections. So that's one thing that I do with like product reviews or looking at different products. That I have a set of sections that I know I'm gonna touch on. Yeah. So that helps you at least get something down, and then you can try to expand from there.
Does anyone use Wattpad?
I have one.
WATT pad.
No, it's a space for you to share your work.
Oh.
I think it's like a free site. Just post your work up there for people to comment on. I wouldn't recommend doing it for a novel, but for short stories.
But you can do it for sections of
Yeah.
novels. A lot of people do that. So if you don't have that built-in group of people that you can go to, and perhaps even if you do, because I'm kind of known as a little bit promotionally in the space, I think about a lot of things that people love like that. But the nice thing about having the Wattpad working for you is that you're getting unbiased opinions as opposed to people that you have coffee with every week.
Right.
These people may not know what the hell they're doing, but at least they're strangers.
Right.
They're going to give you honest opinions as opposed to people that are your friends. It's kind of like, I've grouped 4 buddies, and every single Saturday or Sunday, whichever day it is, they go out and they play golf together. But then the sports, they're years, and their scores are all the same. You know why? Because they're all the same exact level, and that's the only people they ever play golf with. If they're like a coach or somebody else taking to the next level, pushing it a little bit higher to the next things, they might get a little bit better, but they keep riding.
With the same people.
Keep playing golf, sorry, it was euphemism. To the same people over and over and over again.
At the same time, though, I think you have to be really careful because one of the girls in my writing group, she was writing an amazing novel and then just stopped because the critiques were starting to weigh her down, and she couldn't move beyond certain aspects that we were talking to her about. And it wasn't any fault of the whole process. It was just she had to separate herself because she was getting too focused sometimes on the critiques and not enough on the actual writing of it. And it was starting to change the way that her novel that she wanted was growing because of certain things that the critique was happening. So I think the critiques can
like what you write.
Right.
And because I have really high ratings on Amazon, but I have some people that have given me 1 stars, and I wish I could delete them, but I can't. And it's one of those things like you're always going to get critique, and you just have to eventually learn.
People go, oh, okay, so it's not all of his friends.
Exactly. But you do have to just learn to just let it roll off and not.
It was that, but there was too much involvement.
Right.
There was too much involved in the story.
Too much
process.
Too soon.
Right.
If she was writing her story and getting immediate feedback, and that was steering her story, people were getting like, well, maybe you should do this and that.
Right.
That's too much input.
Yeah.
If you want to tell a story.
Right. So there's a timing for critiques, but I think that going to a place like that where the people don't know you or they're not similarly writing focused, you might get a different type of critique. So you're getting more technical instead of plotline or character development. But that's not
But
what
you can steer those conversations too. If you go to a site, you're looking for feedback, steer it to.
True.
I'm not looking for plot help here. I just want to know, does this make sense? Is there continuity? And did I use the wrong grammar all over the place? Did I misspell it's every single time?
Right.
So that's not necessarily, you still need to have that afterwards, obviously, but it's good to have it as well. But I know lots of people who say don't edit at all until you're done with your book.
Yes.
You should write, get it all out there, then edit. Let's talk about NaNoWriMo.
Yay!
Who's doing it?
I'm not doing NaNoWriMo, I'm doing PerNoWriMo, which is Personal Novel Finishing Month.
Oh, that's what I should be doing.
I like that better.
Because I started a novel almost a year ago, not quite, but I've been working on it, researching, okay, I've been procrastinating. But I need to finish it, I need to sit down and do it. So instead of, I'm not going to start something new for NaNoWriMo, I said, well, let's take this month, get butt in chair and write. And I've been doing that.
So does everybody know what that is, though?
NaNoWriMo?
Yeah.
So NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. Every November. International, sure. And it's an effort to sit down and write a 50,000 word novel for every month. You're going to write crap if you're going to sit down and write every day for a month to achieve 50,000 words. But that's okay, because then you go back and you edit it and you learn from it, and it gets ideas flowing. So back to Daniel's point, maybe he could take one of his story ideas, sit down and focus on it for 30 days. If nothing happens, nothing happens. So you lose NaNoWriMo. Wow. But you wrote more, maybe, on an idea, or maybe you decided that story is not the one you want to focus on. So maybe for 30 days you go through and see what other stories might interest you. Just write for 30 days. That's really what NaNoWriMo should be. It shouldn't be I certainly agree with Evo that once you've written for 30 days, you've got 50,000 words, don't go right to KDP and publish that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Would you have a recommendation on how to turn that into like a blogging platform, or for someone that's not writing like novels? Could you do overall for an entire month, maybe doing 50,000 words for like a blog every day? You know,
I'm sure there's.
do you know what I mean?
Well,
Like
you could use it for whatever you want. The one thing I do like about NaNoWriMo is it gives you, like, you sit down for 30 days and write each day. And that's one thing a lot of people don't have is discipline or a ritual around it. Like when I sit down, I mean, I wake up every morning and I do my 750 words. Most of it's crap, but it's just one kind of like personal diary type stuff or whatever, just bitching about I'm tired or something. But it's 750 words that it starts. It gets everything out. It's kind of, we write sales letters, you throw out the first couple of paragraphs, the first intro anyways, because you're priming them up. You just want to get things flowing. That's one of the advantages of NaNoWriMo is it gets the ritual, helps you establish certain things. Like Stephen Pressfield talks about, his book, The War of Art, talks about sitting down and doing his little canon or whatever to look it up. And he does different things. Somebody else I was reading about talks about they put on their hat. That's their special writing hat. They're in that mood. It's like that's the only time I wear that hat is when I sit down and write. So when I sit down and write, I throw on the hat, all of a sudden things kick in. Other writers I know, it's like they wake up every morning and they just write out 1,000 words. That's what they do every single day.
It's kind of like in Over the Top, starring Sylvester Stallone. Turns his hat backwards and then but it's really true. Like I had written down notes earlier about this stuff that popped into my head to talk about writing. Like I think we all have those songs that get us pumped up when we just have to just like pound through and get those words out. And just even coming up with a playlist that you specifically listen to when you just want to grind stuff out and get stuff done is helpful because I know I get like distracted with like, why did that song come on? And then you start getting distracted and going into this tangent.
That's why I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I used to have a playlist for 90 days.
I have a soul copying list. It's all it's on is this band soul copying from the late 90s, early 90s, I guess. And that's the only thing in it is that. But when that music comes on,
was it saying?
I would recommend a specific spot in the house, so you're not sitting on the couch where you just have to fight with your spouse. It's a different. Some people, it's a different computer. This is the one that they look at porn on, and this is the one.
Wow. Yeah, you don't want to use the same computer, definitely. I get sticky.
And that's where I write. On Facebook, on Twitter, nothing on that computer is where writing now. Obviously, I could break that rule, but that's my personal discipline. Is that computer, that spot is for writing, nothing else.
Once you sit down and read that, it just clicks.
Yeah. I'm a late night writer. I like working at 1 a.m. because to me, when I'm up that late working on something, I feel not only motivated, but like people who aren't hustling are asleep. And to me, that makes me feel better because that makes me feel like I'm working harder than the average, at least it makes me feel that way. I'm sure there are people who can't sleep and are doing great things too, but it always makes me feel like I'm going a step beyond because I'm working, burning the late night oil, even though I've just planned a wedding or whatever I did at my real job. I've come home and I'm like doing it 2 a.m. There's nothing to watch on TV, so that's not a distraction unless you like infomercials about insanity and like penis pills, you know what I'm saying? Other than that, you have no distractions. Your spouse is asleep, the kids are asleep, the dog's usually passed out. So that can be a really great time, for people to take advantage of is those really early morning hours. I love that work.
I agree with you because your phone's not distracted.
Exactly.
All your clientele is asleep. Right.
You get a lot done.
Distracted by an inbox. So yeah, definitely agree with you.
I love it.
I have a okay. Tools. What tools is there? Please do not say Microsoft.
But I can't say it like that.
Well,
I use Word for Scrivener.
Scrivener. Okay, who uses Scrivener? Who doesn't know what Scrivener is? Okay, excellent. Scrivener is a Mac tool, but there's an IBM version. Yes. Okay, so I have the PC version at home, but I can use the Mac version as well. They're working on, I think they've got a Linux version. But what it is a tool, Eva mentioned it in his first session this morning, that lets you write, break down ideas into scrivenings. But there, you can make it a chapter, a section, just notes, whatever. Everything is in one place. So you've got all your research, you've got what you're writing. You can split screen things, which is what I do a lot. I'll have notes that I've written for all my research. I'll have that on one screen where I'm writing on the other. Side by side, I can make references immediately. You can link pictures to any of your ideas. So if you've got a character sheet also in Scrivener, you have a picture attached to it, so you can see what that person looks like. But you can also have all your description of that person is there.
Cool coffee latte or something.
Literature and latte.
Literature and latte, yeah. Just go to the website.
It is like $45 or $50.
Did you get like a 30-day trial?
Yes, you get a 30-day trial. I highly recommend the trial.
And it's not consecutive days, it's like days you
Every
actually
time you
use
use
it.
it. Cool.
You can cut all kind of formats, Kindle,
Yes.
yeah.
Which is great, but
latex to really like some people like artwork and mark.
And it has that visual representation where it's almost like note cards, so you can drag and drop things around. It's really cool.
Really interactive.
Again,
I also use like
visual writer,
I use
it's
like
very helpful.
I'm a PC, so I use Q10. I also that's a full screen. It just takes up the whole black screen with green text. Looks like the old DOS prompts. But you can do that in Scrivener too. Yeah, you can. Yeah, I do that in Scrivener also. For 750 words, I just do that because it puts up the word count up. So
Scrivener does that too. You can set a word count for every thing you're working on. So if you need that little prompt, if I need to get my 1,500 words in the air or whatever, it's free. Well, no, I agree. I used to use everything because for the longest time I refused to pay $45 for a tool that I could either use on a Mac or a PC. And I used to just write everything in Evernote, which also had the added benefit of I could write wherever I was, on my phone, my tablet. But it does, yes. But now everything's a note. You can't really organize your notes as well as you might want to. So I bit the bullet. I embraced Scrivener, and now I'm writing in Scrivener. Although if I'm out, I'll still write something in Evernote, paste it in Scrivener.
Yeah, see, I use Evernote for all my research because like I'll go to museums, they do a lot of historical novels, and so there's a lot of research. So I like to just be able to snap a picture with my iPhone of something that I see in a museum, and then write some notes on it while I'm there, and then all my research is there. So I don't really do my research in Scrivener, but it is, I really love it for the ability to just move stuff around, move scenes to a new chapter, whatever.
Does anybody use an audio program where you speak and it writes your text?
Oh,
I have not found one yet that.
Not found a very good tool.
Yeah.
If anybody has, please.
I've used the Dragon one.
But how accurate is it?
It's if you talk slow and very specifically, it works very well.
Right.
If you talk at a normal pace, it scrambles.
It doesn't help.
The thing I hate about it is that it doesn't punctuate anything.
That's
So
true.
you have to,
Yeah.
like I'm saying a sentence, period. Blah, 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 period. Period.
Yeah, you have to state all the punctuation. That does get annoying.
Now, there are services where if you record your audio, send it to them, they'll dictate for you, but of course they're not free.
Right.
Yeah, there's actual apps that work with dictation companies that just send your dictation right to them.
For bloggers that use WordPress, I'd highly recommend the WordPress Android app. I assume there's an iOS equivalent. And they're awesome. Like, speaking of writing late at night, I've written posts on my phone, sitting in bed at night before while there's no distractions. And, can just get something going. So, for Android as well, if you want to be able to write a little faster with a virtual keyboard, I'd recommend Swipe or SwiftKey, which allow you to connect all of your letters to write words instead of pecking at each letter. Those are good apps.
Note taking on Android is a good app.
I use Catch.com, Notepad, but Evernote's good too.
Screenpad is also interesting.
I think it's time. 45.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
But I want to see that as much.
Are we staying here or going somewhere else? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They were having.
Actually,
So we're gonna have, plot for the podcast.
No.
They got moved.
Back then, you-
Whatever the email was. I'm still back on, so I can have it there right now, so. I'm all over Twitter right now for text.
It's just the light, the light in an area.
Superman shirt and a vest. Rock it. Sorry.